dancing to their own beat in a world so plain. Unconventional playbook, they're here to entertain. Lionel's a dreamer with stars in his eyes. Patrick's a schemer with tricks in disguise. Together they're unstoppable, a force to be reckoned with. Their unconventional playbook, they'll never be second. Unconventional playbook, rewriting the game. Lionel and Patrick, they'll never be the same. Dancing to their own beat in a world so plain. Unconventional playbook, they're here to entertain.
Minnesota Viking fans, the Minnesota Vikings are 3-0, beating two of the best teams in the last couple of weeks, the San Francisco 49ers and today the Houston Texans. Nobody better not say anything about the Minnesota Vikings, talking about, after the first week, the Giants, well, they just played the Giants. They just beat arguably two of the best teams in the league. The Minnesota Vikings are getting down with it. Got my guy, Patrick Buchanan, on the show. I couldn't wait to get on the podcast with you tonight, man, and talk about these Vikings. I mean, they are doing a fantastic job playing lights out on both sides of the balls. Just doing a fantastic job. Pat, what's up, man? What's going on with your Sunday?
Not much. My Sunday's good, man. When you can hear those words 3-0, it sounds good, and especially when it's your team, right? Especially when it's the purple, right? I don't know if the color's right? I got the purple shirt on, right? I saw your little tag up, but I exposed mine. That's the old number 14. That's my troll right there.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Ooh.
You shouldn't have never left. You gave us JJ. That's my troll for tonight.
Yeah, Stephon Diggs had a pretty good game today. I think he had 10 receptions for about 95 yards, but he probably didn't get off like you want to. Personally, I'm glad Stephon is not here because we got Justin Jefferson instead of Stephon Diggs. So I'm happy with where we're at. What are your first thoughts about the game, man? Obviously, I don't think too many people gave us the opportunity to win this game. But the Vikings' vaunted defense, B-Flow, come on, man. B-Flow, man. Come on, B-Flow. Again, I said it in the last podcast, Pat. You got to touch C.J. Stroud a little bit, and boy, did they touch C.J. Stroud. Last possession, him limping off the field. Obviously, I don't wish for anybody to get hurt, but I thought the physical play would bother C.J. Stroud a little bit, and all the looks that Brian Flores could give him. They did a really, really good job with that, and I think it threw C.J. Stroud off his game.
Oh, yeah. It's, I've talked about it since day one, and I'm never going to stop talking about it, right? And it was the defense. It's B-Flow and the defense. And, like you said last podcast, you said it right. They touch up. I didn't want to talk about it all week long, but I had just been watching film and just continuously watching the evolution of this defense and the evolution of the players, the evolution of KOC as a head coach. And I thought some things could be special. The fact that they've never beaten us, and the fact that they've never been in this stadium, the fact that the stadium was rocking, and it wasn't like the 49ers game where people were selling their tickets. No one was selling their tickets for this game at all, right? The stadium was fantastic, but like dominating, right? Dominating, and I said it will be up to both defenses. And don't get me wrong, I'm gonna be honest, their defense dominated too, and the Houston Texans. But our takeaways, our field possession, right, where we possess the ball, right, our starting, like that helped us. But also knowing how to play without needing the big plays, right? Knowing how to grind out to get the scores that we needed. But yeah, we got to start everything with the defense. JG only had one to come in, that was his own team, right? JG to go get 3. Phillips with that first tip right away, let's get the ball, right? So the defense was hounding them. They made him uncomfortable. I thought he had a very easy rookie year in a sense of people figuring out a strategy for him. But I don't think everybody can do what Flores can do because he's got so many moving pieces that are versatile, right? And I think that's what allows him the personnel that he can put in the game to get it. Like Redman got his first sack today, right? It's just so many moving pieces up front between that front seven, and then on the back end, right? You got moving pieces back there. I just thought this was and I'm gonna say the offense, and it's a team game. The offense was able to complement everything that the defense did today, right? By Sam being able to throw 4 touchdowns. But I just think the confusion that they did, like I was talking to somebody and I said, didn't CJ see Purdy tell him that scheme was nutty? Like, did he not call, Brock and were like, Brock, well, hey, what you got to give me? Maybe he did. And Brock is like, man, I can't explain that to you, because
Right.
it is hard to explain that you don't like. It looks like you can't see those guys, like you think they're playing one position, but they're really not, right? Or they're in a zone covering this area, but they're really not. Like, I mean, once again, here's the second game in a row, third game in a row where I think we could have had way more takeaways than we did, right? And we did have one. I don't know what the officials was doing, right? That was a fumble, right? He tucked it, caught it, tucked it. Um, I just think up front, it's where it all starts, right? I think the back end is playing fantastic. CG only had 215 passing yards where he had to pass the ball. Very stout of stopping the run. I thought that was fantastic, holding Cam Akers down there. Um, but I just think, like, I've never this like I didn't live. I was in Minnesota during that time. I wasn't born during the Purple People Eaters time. I've seen Mike Zimmer's defense. That was, Tomlin was here. He had a good defense here. Zimmer in his
Tony
early years
Dungy.
had a good defense here. But I've never, like, I always watch AFC teams, right? And it's usually AFC teams that have these defenses that are just exotic, beautiful, like tough. Like when we really talked about being tough and being physical, like that's what we are defensively. Like we are tough sons of, like we don't miss tackles, and we hit you, we hit you, right? Like they violently hitting you, and that's not what we've always been. But it's great to have something like that because I think those are the type of defenses that you can hang your hat on, right? And that's just me starting with the defense today. The Ivy Pace and Cashman were fantastic as well inside, making sure guys were in their right positions and making sure they close up those holes, those gaps for the run game. So, man, it was that was dominating defense to a very good quarterback, right? CJ Stroud is not an average quarterback. He's an above average quarterback, and he looked below, like he looked average today,
Yeah.
right? And that's what a good defense and good personnel can do for you. And the personnel that we have, you tip the hat off to them because they have to execute game plan, and they executed it to a T.
Well, I think what you have right now, what you're seeing from the Minnesota Vikings is that, there's a lot of different aspects you can look at when it comes to this team. You can look at some of the things that are glistening off of the, offensive side of the ball. You can look at some things that are coming to the forefront on the defensive side of the ball. There's a lot of different things you can point at for the success, that attributed to their 3-0 start. But the one thing that I see, that kind of flies under the radar, and a lot of fans don't get an opportunity to see this because obviously, it's more of a private setting. Like you don't get an opportunity to go out and watch the Vikings practice every day, unless it's training camp. You don't get an idea of what goes on in their film room and in their position meetings and stuff like that. And what you have right now is a team that is in tune with each other and a coaching staff that is in tune with their players. Like today, people think it probably was just, Grenard having a really, really good game today. And that was all schemed. Their defensive coaches wanted Grenard to have a good game today. That's what a lot of people don't realize. For them, I remember a few years ago. I don't know if a lot of Viking fans remember this or you peers remember this, but remember, I can't remember what the specific record was, but Justin Jefferson had an opportunity to break a record in the last game of the season, and Zimmer didn't do a play to get him that ball so he can break that record. I can't remember if it was yards or receptions. I can't remember what it was, Pat, but I remember Zimmer saying after the game when he was asked about that, he was like, "Well, I don't, I really don't care about that kind of stuff." It was important for the defensive coaches because Grenard was playing his old team for him to have a big day today, and that came to fruition today in the game. He had a big game, 3 sacks, and had multiple pressures where he didn't get to the quarterback, but he made a difference in the defensive scheme. So I was really, really happy to see that. On the offensive side of the ball, man, again, Sam Darnold is playing like a top 5 quarterback in the league. And nobody's going to sit here and say that he is a top 5 quarterback in the league, but he's playing like a top 5 quarterback in the league. And all of that goes to his offensive coaches. The belief in putting this young man in a situation where he can succeed. I mean, he looks very comfortable out there when the lights are bright. So, when people talk about the best combination of coaches in the league, I think I mentioned it on the last podcast. B-Flow, not Sam Darnold, but KOC is doing a fantastic job with this team. Their players are an extension of them. And you can look at any sport that you play. When you have a team like that, Pat, where you are an extension of your team and your team is an extension of you, the chemistry there, man, is just going to be tough to beat. Is this team going to go 17-0? Probably not. I would be happy with that, but probably not. But this is a team that if they continue to do the things that they're doing, man, it's going to be a hard night for anybody to beat this football team.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a hard night to beat anybody because now I'll flip to the offensive side. Sam is doing a fantastic job. I think Sam has 8 touchdown passes in the first 3 games, only 2 picks, right? So that's a fantastic ratio that he's doing right there. We're taking care of the ball today. Like we've been running the ball well, but for Aaron Jones to hit that 100 mark rushing on the ground, like it's a balanced attack that we got. Once
Yeah.
again, we're balanced attack. 100. Sam didn't have to do that much. 181 passing yards, right?
Nope.
He didn't with 4 passing touchdowns. You'll say, well, how'd that? Well, good field position, right? Great defense, right? But also a great running attack where you don't. That's not what you're all relying on. You're relying on a balanced attack, right? So we're talking about the defense, talk about the offense, all phases of the game. Offensive line was fantastic. Yeah, we did. Listen, if people didn't think we was going to get some sacks was going to happen, that's the Texans. That's the
That's right.
Texans. That's the Texans defense, right? That's the Miko
Yep.
Ryans. That's
Yeah.
that's that was going to happen, right? But I feel like they both were like our KOC outcoached his defense today, right? He outcoached them enough to knew what they had to do to be successful today. So KOC won that battle when it came when it comes to that. But then there's another phase of the game too, Coach, that was phenomenal, and that's the special teams, right? You talk about the rookie kicks a 58-yard field goal. The rookie
Oh
has
yeah.
not missed a field goal at all.
Yeah.
Like that's all 3 phases taken care of. Like that's tough to beat when you're in sync like that. Just listening to the guys talk, and I know about it. They keep their stuff internal in the locker room, right? They're not worried about like no one's really had talked about them in the off season. He got a little pub last year, right?
Yeah.
Like I told you, like they'll be the number 1 topic of conversation. The only thing that's going to trump them is the Dallas Cowboys losing, right? That's the topic of conversation. And then if Kansas City can't follow through this, like it'll be the number 1 thing in those power rankings that came up before. I think it moved us to 12 or 10. I don't remember. What was that
We're
number,
gonna be
Coach?
a lot higher than that. We're gonna
We
be a lot
number
higher than
9.
that.
What was it? Number 9 that moved us up to?
Yeah. Yeah. I
It's number
believe so.
9. Well,
Yep.
okay, we done beat 2 top 5s. So what does that mean, right?
Yeah.
We done beat 2 top 5s. Are you gonna put Seattle Seahawks at us? No, they haven't beat the same caliber of people as being undefeated, right?
Yeah.
I think you're gonna have to put us in the top 3 when it comes to power ranking, right? To knock off 2 top 5s and to blow one of them out, and it should have been 2 blowouts.
Oh, it should have been
Um,
two blowout.
it should have been 2 blowouts. So All I know, if I'm the Aaron Rodgers, he probably ain't gonna be sleeping well this week. So,
Yeah. Well, I know everybody keeps talking about, the defense. Nicole put it in the chat to all three phases. Sarah talked about the power ranking. But I'm going to tell you where it's at. Obviously, B Flow was starting to get a lot of attention. B Flow was shown on TV today more than KOC. So I think a lot of people are starting to hear about this Minnesota Vikings defense, and they're starting to indulge in terms of, learning as much as they can about it. I had the opportunity to watch a couple of podcasts where they were actually breaking down the Flores defense, and Pat is crazy, man. It is. I don't know how these guys, because it's Pat. It's totally random to a certain extent. Like B Flow has said multiple times, this is their defense. And this defense is based on a lot of reads. And whenever you give players that type of freedom, the one fear that you have is that they're not going to be on the same page on certain plays. These guys seem to be, they see the same things, they read the same things. That's what gives offenses so many fits because it's so random. You really can't scout it. I
yeah,
know Baker Mayfield last year, when we lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers first game of the season, Baker said, well, I got it figured out. I knew what they was trying to do. I don't believe that. I just think he made some really good plays because it's totally random. And we just played two pretty legit quarterbacks. I know what people say about Daniel Jones. He's not up there, but you got Purdy, you got CJ Stroud today. We just dismantled those offenses, man. And I'm not afraid to say this. I'm not saying that we are a Super Bowl team yet. I think I need to see a little bit more from the Minnesota Vikings, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But this is a Super Bowl defense, man. Just the scheme, the versatility of it, the speed of it. If this defense can stay healthy, man, the Vikings are going to be tough to beat.
oh yeah, so I'll take you back to week one last year
Okay.
in
All
Baker,
right.
and he's my
Take me
Sooner
back,
guy.
Pat.
The one thing that I tell Baker, you did what you were supposed to against the personnel that was out there. But if you
That's
went up
right.
against this personnel, that's a completely different story, man. Like you talking about game one of learning a scheme. Yeah,
Yeah.
say what you want to, Baker. And I love you because you're a Sooner, but
I was about to say, you're a senior. You're
like I'm a
criticizing the
Sooner,
Sooner.
but there's this reality that goes on when you got your pieces and the people understand. And listen, five of the starters are still learning it, right?
Right.
They're still learning it, but you couldn't tell. It doesn't look like it, but they are, right? Um, you know, Harrison Smith said a fantastic thing. He was like, man, sometimes he throwing stuff where it's a lot of things he want us
Yeah.
to do within it, right? When he's calling the plays, and sometimes it's like, man, that's a little too much right now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's but he's testing them right to see where we're at, right? Because there's obviously going to be growth in it. Um, I don't. I want to, because we every week. And this is since the off season. This is what I always said about that defense. But I do want to turn heads, and I do want to go back to Sam, man, and I want to go back to KOC and the job that he is doing with Sam Darnold. Right. This talented young man is really showing the most out of his opportunity. I'm knocking on wood, hoping the MRI tomorrow comes back right, because man, that I'm gonna be shattered. Like we've been through enough. Hopefully, it's just a little tweak, right? Get yourself back out there. So the job he's doing, the this so I've cracked, right, and I felt like, in the first 2 years I always said, I said KOC should give up the play calling, right?
Yeah.
Not that he couldn't play call, that so that he could be a head coach and focus. But I think in year three now he doesn't have to worry about his defense. He doesn't have to worry about his special teams, right? He doesn't necessarily like he can in tune now more into the offense with knowing that he's got people in trustworthy places, right? Because a lot of pressure is when you're a first year head coach. But he's calling a hell of a games, man. I mean,
Yeah.
his play calling, he's putting Sam in every position to be successful. He's putting his offense in every position to be successful. Now, once again, everything like I don't like all the penalties we had out there. I don't like the drought quarters, like the second quarter was a drought, right? It was a drought. And
Yeah.
I felt like we had opportunities still to score in there, but it was some things that didn't go right within it. But it's better. It's not two quarters of droughts, right? It
Yep.
was a one
Yep.
quarter of a drought, right? And 20 points in the second half, fantastic. But we could have had more points on the board in there. But that's just me finding something to nitpick at. Right? I'm just
Yeah.
trying to find something. I
Yeah.
just Sam is fantastic with the boot, the play action. Like the first touchdown I looked at, and we gonna do it because we have to. Last year, Kirk Cousins doesn't find a way to roll out to that pocket to that left, like to just to improvise, right,
Right.
and roll out
Yep. I
there,
get you.
right, and I think these guys, these receivers, know that Sam's going to keep the play alive, so we got to make sure that we move with him and give him a pocket, a window to throw that ball in. So, I mean, he uses his legs fantastically. Um, he's not doing anything to hurt us, right? And some of the intermediate throws are even going to get better, even the check downs, right? Sometimes those aren't the greatest of his throws, right? Everyone
Right.
knows the strength is his arm, of pushing it downfield, but he's getting better at the other throws, and that today was a testimony of that. Like 181 yards, it wasn't 181 yards with 20 plus yard plays. It was with the 5, the 6, the 7, the 8 yard plays, right? And making sure he was moving the chain. So I think as that continues to get better, defenses is going to focus on that, and it's going to open up deep. And what else is going to open up deep for us is when we get the healthy, TJ Hawkinson and Addison back, and now with Speedy doing what he's doing, it's just creating more weapons for us. But man, Sam is really playing good, and I give props to Shanahan, and KOC, because you got to give props to Shanahan for helping this young man out, and now KOC, we get to benefit and even evolve him even more, as a
Right.
player and as a young man. Um, but coach, here's the conversations are happening, and it's not happening inside the organization. But as fans, we get very premature on things, right?
Yeah.
So the conversations of what if he keeps doing this, right?
Right.
Those conversations, what if he keeps, well, let's not worry about that right now
Right.
because they're not thinking about it. And let's just take one day at a time. I'm not thinking about 17-0. I'm not thinking about 6-0 or 7-0. I'm thinking about going to 4-0. The next game, the Jets are on my mind, right? Enjoy this, Jets. That's where they're at. That's why I'm always speak of that on the UP because I think you got to think of it as one game at a time.
Yeah, for me, thinking about Sam Darnold, he's doing a tremendous job. I talk to a lot of creative people, and we have on our campus some really talented artists on our campus, people that can paint and work in oils and all that different kind of stuff. And all of them say the same thing. The most exciting thing about an artist is dealing with the blank canvas. Because when you deal with the blank canvas, you can create it in whatever way you want. And then all of them said when they have to go back to some of their old pieces as an artist to try to correct some things, that's always hard because they don't want to mess up the painting that they're doing. I look at coaching the same way. And here's where I give KOC a lot of credit. He's working with a guy in Sam Darnold that has a blank canvas. Nothing before that Sam Darnold has done has ever worked for Sam Darnold. So he doesn't have to break Sam Darnold down. He doesn't have to override Sam Darnold's thought process because in Sam Darnold's mind, he needs the help. He's hungry to be successful. Unlike a guy like Kirk Cousins, who had a little bit of success to be able to get the contract that the Vikings gave him initially, he had to have some success in Washington. And so with a guy like that, been in the league a long time ago, KOC has to go in there and try to reprogram a guy like that. And from a coach, I know I've had players that have been really successful in basketball. Pat, I know you've had players that were really successful in basketball at lower levels. And by the time they get to you, sometimes you've got to reprogram those players. But when you have someone that's just coming up that you've got to develop that has a blank canvas, it is easier as a coach to deal with that blank canvas. And that's what KOC is dealing with right now. He is putting that dude in so many different situations for him to be successful. And you can see it just pan out, man. Every decision that Sam Darnold is making, even when he doesn't execute it right, you can see what he's trying to do. Same thing on the defensive side of the ball. Brian Flores, when he came in, the defense was successful. They threw everything out from the defense of the previous coach that was there, Ed Donatel, and he was just dealing with the blank canvas. So now everybody in that locker room believes in B-Flow. Sam Darnold believes in KOC, and those relationships are so strong, man. It's just going to be hard for them to fail in certain situations because, like I said before, they are so in tuned. I'm like you. I'm going to enjoy the present. I'm not looking at 17 and no. I know how the NFL season goes. I'm going to pray that, Sam Darnold's MRI comes back clean because you never know with the knee. But as long as this young man is healthy, I think the Vikings will have a shot. Not that they will win every game, but they are going to have a shot going forward because I just think it's going to be hard for this team not to be successful on any given Sunday.
No, it is. They're a team, and I don't. People, you can't. You don't just say stuff just to say it, right? And you don't
Yeah.
say stuff to throw shade at it. Like Aaron, for listen to a person that I'm listening to Aaron Jones, and he's talking about how this team is, and right, like it's one of the best teams he's been part of, right?
He used
He's
the
been
word special, Pat. He used the word special.
okay. He used the word special. You just
Yeah.
don't say that, right? And that's mentioned to JG and mentioned to Justin Jefferson, and they're like it is. It's something we built inside it, and it's that thing that I'll talk about it every podcast, man. And it's just something about culture, right? And it's almost like you have a family, right? And the culture that you build as parents for your kids inside your
Right.
house and you're growing up, right?
Yep.
It's the culture inside your job where you know that the work can get done because you have this fantastic culture. It's culture is everything, right? When things are toxic, when things are going here and there's selfish things that are happening, right? That's when things don't go so well. And when there's unselfishness and people really genuinely care about each other, and you see that those men caring about other men, I mean, it spreads, and it you know it radiates all over, and it's radiating all over Eagan, Minnesota right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great to watch. It's fantastic. I'm glad, that hopefully I said it earlier that the fans are getting what they deserve. I think they said we hit 120, about 122, 121 decimals today, so it was loud in that stadium. I know they had difficulties. There's a lot of penalties. Like it, I knew it was going to be some defensive grinding going on. Man, there was a lot of penalties out there both ends, right? But they had a lot of penalties to affect them, and that's the credited to the crowd noise we had out there. I just, if you look at this team and you ask yourself, really, how can we get better? Right? We're 3-0. How does this team get better? What does this team need to do to get better, coach?
I look at the Vikings and I feel like the number one thing is, and I'm talking non X's and O's right now. I think the number one thing is they have to stay semi healthy. Like it's the NFL. I know you're not going to have a season where you have no injuries. These guys are going to get dinged up. They're playing hard out there, but if we can keep the pieces together and stay semi healthy, and Pat, here's the key. Like we've got TJ Hawkinson that's not in there. We've got Addison that's not in there. You know, the one thing that some skeptics would say, waiting for the other shoe to drop, is okay, when these guys come back, who else is going to be out? So being semi healthy is really really important. And I love what KOC is doing at the running back position with Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler. He knows the history of Aaron Jones in terms of him staying healthy. So he's not pulling Aaron Jones out of the game because of fatigue. They're not giving him 20 to 25, carries a game, although he had 19 today, but they're not designing schemes where he has to carry the ball that much. They're just spelling him because they know his injury history and they have a capable backup in Ty Chandler that can come in there and run the football. So for me, health is paramount. Health is paramount, and then having players that can continue to develop, especially the interior of that offensive line. The tackles are pretty good. The left guard is pretty good. They've gotta shore up the center position and then that right guard position. Reisner is going to help that when he comes back. But I think the interior part of our offensive line is just key, and that's got to get better.
Yeah, and the and I can't count the number of sacks we've given up, and we've been able to rush for over 200, over 100 yards. I think all three games, right, collectively, and our carries have been very high of average, right,
Yep.
in the 5-6 range. So I think they're doing that good. I mean, Sam's having time to. I guess you're expecting him to be clean in the pocket, coach. Offensive line is doing good right now, so we're wanting more, right? Out
I'm
of
just looking at the consistency in which people get blow-bys and give up sacks. And I think if you look at our offensive line, the interior, they consistently get beat at times. So against really, really good teams, especially if we're looking at this as a playoff team and trying to make a run in the playoffs, you've got to get better because you're going to be facing some really opposing defensive line.
yeah, I hear you, and I'm with you. I'm not. I want Ingram to be better than what he is, right? I've said it before. I'm not going to run away from that, and I've talked about Reisner with that. And I just, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Don't try to fix it, type of thing. But how do we continuously to get better there? And they're going to get better, right? If we're going to look at it, yeah, how can the offense get better? How can Sam get better?
Yep.
How can we be better pass protect pro? How can we not have these, penalties within motion or jumping off sides like false starts, right? Like that's where I want us to get cleaner at, right? Is to
Yeah.
clean up the penalties, right? Clean up the mistakes. The one thing I do love, and I love hearing KLC talk about it, is the adversity piece. And I'm gonna go deeper in this, right? I'm gonna really touch deeper in this with the adversity piece. Like every game, they've hit some adversity where it was a takeaway, right? Like fumbling the ball, interception, or penalties today. Today would have been penalties, right? Would have been the adversity we're having, or some missed passes, or drop passes. JJ doesn't drop passes like that. I know JJ's gonna have a nasty game versus the Jets because he mad at that all the passes he dropped. So, but just the adversity piece that they've been able to go through, and he said it after every game. And like this is me. I'm a very spiritual person, everyone, and I'm gonna just be honest of where I'm going with this. Like always said, they had one of the biggest adversities this off season, and that's with KJ, right? And that's with KJ passing away. Man, KJ might have a hand up there in heaven messing around down here with what they doing because they celebrated his life very well with his family and with the city and with the organization. So I think that adversity that they dealt with this summer, they're like it's a game. They're just playing a game. They dealt with some real life adversity. You know what I mean, Coach?
Yep. Yep.
And now they're going to a game. I think that makes like if you hindsight, like you guys can get through that. You got through this. It was tough for us, right, to start camp this way. It was tough for us, but we got through it together, right? And I feel like that's what they're doing right now on the field is getting through it together, right? And that's with everyone. That's with the coaches. That's with personnel. But also, man, I'm a they having fun out there, man. They having fun, coach. And that's the one thing in sports that we always want people to do is have fun, and they having fun. And man, B Flow was locked in today. Did you see B Flow? Did you see
Yes,
him out there, coach? He was coaching like he's had his emotional fun, but this was like a fierce today. Was
yeah,
more fierce B Flow. Like
yeah,
I'm trying to shut them down, like how they was playing out there and all around the place and hitting each other. So this was a different him out. It was more fierce. Like I'm the best at this. He ain't.
yeah, yeah.
You
Well,
know.
he had to be that way, Pat. And I'm not saying that he takes games off. Obviously, he doesn't, or that he respects one person better than another one. But he had a daunting task today, man. He had C.J. Stroud, who people are saying really is the heir apparent top quarterback in the league. So he knew what he was up against, and sometimes, I mean, you've had those big games as a coach. There are certain games that bring out that focus in you, and this was one of those games where B Flow, he was a little bit more focused. And both of these coaches, man, Nicole said in the chat, it's going to be embarrassment of riches when everybody comes back. Absolutely, when everybody comes back. Scott's talking about B Flow has a plug and play defense. Doesn't seem to matter who they put in. I'm going to go back to what my partner Pat said to start the season, the depth. The depth of this team, you saw it in the preseason, and now, again, that's coming to fruition in the regular season. So, I mean, credit to our coaches being able to do some of that stuff today for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But we can go on and on. They're 3-0. They're 3-0. They're at the top of the division. But here's another stat. I don't know if everyone knows. We've only given up 30 points, and that's the second best in the NFL right now.
Yes.
And there's only one team ahead of that, and they've given up 26 points, and that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. But
Yes.
and that's not taking anything away from the Pittsburgh Steelers, is that we've played two really good offenses. We went
Yeah.
up against two really good offenses to hold them down to a total of how many points combined, So
Yeah.
it's man, it's what they're doing back there is they're going to be number one. They're going to be like they're going to be number one. And I know we give up some yards here and there, but and Nicole said it earlier. I'm glad we didn't. Like we could have just let them score at the end of the game. Uh.
That's
Like
that
the
pride.
defense, like that's pride right there.
Yep.
That's pride right there. And there's plenty of times right there trying to move it. There was fourth down pride when they got them off the field. Like there's pride in letting them score out there, and they're not doing that. They're they're scary. That's scary, man.
But Pat, do you know why they're scary, man? See, a lot of things that people don't know about coaching is that really a lot of your success depends on how well you can scout the other team, figure out what they're trying to do scheme wise, and then take that back to your team and focus on their weaknesses where you can really exploit them. When I look at B Flow's defense and everything that I've seen in terms of studying that defense, I'm not going to sit here and say it's unstoppable, because when he starts bringing players from all angles, sometimes you get put on that island. Sometimes if the offense has the right hot read, they can beat you for some yards. So I think you're going to see a little bit of that as the season plays out. But how consistent can you be as an offense? And I just don't think what B Flow and the fellas are doing right now in purple, I don't think it's scoutable right now. And I think you think the Houston Texans didn't prepare or try to prepare for B Flow's defense today? Of course they did. You didn't think Shanahan and the San Francisco 49ers tried to prepare for B Flow's defense last week? Of course they did. What I'm seeing from offensive teams right now is that they can prepare all they want, but you are just not quite sure that the look you're seeing is going to be the look that you're going to get when the ball is snapped.
Yeah.
And man, it is. I think the defense, again, I give you a lot of credit, because the first thing you said when we were talking about predicting, how the Vikings were going to be successful, what did you hang your hat on? The
The
defense.
defense.
Yep, and the defense is showing up every week with that consistency. And honestly, man, I don't think that's going to go away. I think they're going to play, good to great every game. I just think the defense right now is just going to be consistent. And like I said, I have no hesitation in saying that this is a Super Bowl scheme and it is a Super Bowl defense with the personnel right now that's currently constructed.
Yeah, definitely, and that's like that was me studying personnel and studying B flow and what he's able to do, and I'm gonna flip it over to the other end quick, and because I brought up our scoring defense and
Yeah.
like I Scott, yeah, Scott, we scored 85 points
We,
in 3 games,
we
right? Scott, that average right there, we almost right there at 30 points a game, right? That's about 28 point something, so that's close. And we've been part of the Minnesota teams. I watched the 3-0 game versus Chicago Bears last year, which was I was in the stadium for that game, which was like, what is going on? So it's great to see us be able to put the points up on the board, though. To be able to score like that and score in the 20s for 3 straight games,
yeah.
that's fantastic as well, right? It's when we can put points up on the board, when a field goal kicker can make field goals, when we can finish drives and get 7 out of it, it's great. And we're still having gap moments because he's still learning the playbook. All the
Yeah.
Sam's still learning that playbook. Everybody says that playbook is difficult as hell. He's still learning it, and we're averaging 28 points a game. That's nutty, right?
Yeah.
That's just nutty right there to think about that. A team is averaging 28 points a game. Defense is only giving up 10 points a game. That's an 18-point differential. That's a
Yeah.
recipe that how you gonna beat that? You got to figure out how to slow the offense down. You got to figure out how to score against that defense. Yeah, 28 points a game, man. I don't get me wrong. I love it. I love it would have been fantastic if we could have got the more than single digit win, right? Because I
Yeah.
we were through KOC's first year where it was 1 score wins, and last year the 1 score wins and the 1 score we was more on the end of 1 score losses, and to be right now where it's 2 games that we've won by been more than 1 score, and it should have been 3. Like we can talk about it, and Aaron Jones had a fantastic day to make up for that damn fumble. But we'll give Wagner his props for punching it out for Eddie. But whatever, it is what it is. So,
Yeah.
yeah, here's the thing: is I don't. I think the defense will get better as they whatever, but I think there's more upside in the offense than the defense.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that.
And if we're averaging 28 points a game, we don't have TJ Hawkinson, we don't have Addison. That's a scary upside then that you're looking at. You could be potentially looking at if Sam Darnold can play like this, you could be just potentially looking at a team that's destined, right? And that has destiny, and there's nothing you could do with that team that year. And you come back in next year and try to figure that team out as the NFL as a whole, right? The whole NFL organization, like the teams out there, how we gonna figure them out? Because that's where it's headed. It's some sort of destiny thing. They said it's something special, and I know what being part of something special is that I can't explain it. And there's something that's happening that you just can't explain. It's just happening. You're doing everything. You're doing your preparation right, mentally and physically preparing right. But when the players are executing and the ball is going your way, that's just it's not, it's
Well,
nothing.
listen, man. I'm gonna tell you this about the Minnesota Vikings, and you know me by personality. As UP Nation gets a chance to know you and I a little bit better. I think between the two of us, I'm probably the more cynical person out of the two of us. I mean, when you look at our preseason predictions, I think you picked the Vikings to go 10-7. I picked the Vikings to go 7-10. So I'm a little more critical. But I'm going to say this. Here's where the Vikings are winning me over. Their three-headed monster right now is the best in the league. I have no hesitation in saying that. Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah as the GM, Brian Flores as the defensive coordinator, KOC as basically the play caller and the head coach. That's a hell of a three-headed monster, okay? So you got that. The Vikings are winning without major pieces in their offense, and their offense has looked better than it's looked in the last few years when it comes to the Minnesota Vikings. You're still missing Hawkinson. You're still missing Addison. Those are two big important parts to our offense, and the Vikings offense is still rolling. You look at next year, 2025, we're one of the best teams in terms of salary cap room in the league. I believe we're top five. So you're going to be able to add some pieces. Patrick, the stars are aligning from the Minnesota Vikings. Whenever you look at these dynasties that have been out there, whether it's basketball, baseball, football, people never see the beginning of what the dynasty looked like. They always see the finished product of what the dynasty is. Right now, we're in the foundational part of becoming a dynasty. And next year, we get an opportunity to add some pieces. Who knows who our quarterback's going to be? Sam Darnold right now is making a case. If it's not Sam Darnold, we got J.J. McCarthy. The stars are lining up, and this is why this feels so good. We've been 3-0 before. We've had good starts before. We've had winning streaks before. But man, this is feeling a little bit different, and it's feeling good because we just got a lot of pluses in our column going forward. This year, next year, and years beyond. And we've just never been, since I've been rooting for the Vikings, we've just never been in this situation where we got that franchise quarterback, we're playing good ball, and we got that three-headed monster, defense, offense, and the general manager. Man, everything just seems to be cooking, Pat, and we couldn't be in a better spot.
Yeah, we can. You asking a fantastic question, Scott, right? And you just mentioned two of them, and Scott. When are they going to lock them up,
They
Scott?
got to lock him up.
Listen, but I'm gonna be honest, right? And Nicole says better do it soon. Here's how I feel, all right? I feel they're hungry. Don't lock them up until the season's over. Don't give them the bag when the season is over. They're hungry right now. Do not disrupt that. And I'm not saying they're like it, but every $50 million quarterback looks like crap right now that signed $50 million in the offseason. Don't
Yeah.
lock them up right now. You did JJ in the offseason. It was perfectly fine. Yeah, we just gave Phillips some money, right? Whatever. Let them stay hungry and make them the highest paid whenever the season is over, right? Let them finish this out because they're hungry. And I'm not saying the hunger's going to go away, but I think there's something about it when you want to get locked back up. Yeah, Scott, I know. I'm just coming up with something, Scott, because we look good up there. I don't want to interrupt the flow. That's all it is.
Right. No, but I'm going to disagree with you a little bit, Pat. I'm going to push back a little bit. I think you have no worry. You have no worry about KOC really going anywhere. This is his first coaching job. This is where he wants to be. I don't think you have any worry about Kwesi going anywhere. The guy that I worry about is B-Flow. I think you gotta lock B-Flow up sooner than later because I'm telling you, he's starting to get a lot of attention. And I'm telling you, they showed B-Flow today on national television more than they showed the head coach. That's letting you know that he's starting to garner that attention, man. And I think they're gonna have to open up the checkbook big for B-Flow. They're gonna almost have to pay him like a head coach to get him to stay. So the sooner they get him locked up, the happier I'm gonna be as a Minnesota Vikings fan.
Would you pay him? Would you pay him just $1 million shy of what KOC getting? Yes. Yes.
Listen, I'll tell you this because I think KOC is going to demand some money as well.
Yeah.
I would pay. Here's where I am. Because there's no salary cap in coaching salaries.
Nope.
I would pay B-Flow head coaches money if you want to win the Super Bowl. Because I think for the Vikings to win the Super Bowl, I don't want a guy that B-Flow has mentored. I don't want somebody out of the B-Flow tree. I want B-Flow. And for us to win a Super Bowl, I think B-Flow is going to have to be on the sidelines and he's going to have to be a part of it.
Yeah. But if he, I'll never want to hold someone back from the opportunity that they have in this world, right? but do believe he's molding someone if
Oh,
that does come up. Like I do believe he's molding someone, right? He's because you if something does miraculously happen, someone has to be in place that knows this defense. There's this
yes.
this is the reality part. But there's this other side of me that the person that I got to meet is he ain't trying to go nowhere. He not
Yeah.
trying to deal with that. I don't
Okay.
think so.
Pat, I just always, I think his heart is here, no question. I think he sees that he works well with KOC. I think he likes Minnesota. I think he likes the players that he gets an opportunity to work with. But money talks, man. Money talks, and when people start throwing those dollars at you, and then you have a chance to captain your own ship, that's really enticing. So at least what the Minnesota Vikings can control, they really can't control B Flow's heart, but what they can do is control his bank account somewhat. So what they should do is really, really put the pen to paper and get this man locked up. And again, I would pay him head coach's money because I think he's just a pivotal part of us being where we want to go, and that's ultimately a Super Bowl title. I just think B Flow's got to be a part of it.
Yeah, I believe to give him the money to do it, and I believe that all the little young pieces that he got, why would I want to walk away from that as a defense? Like these are my toys. These men are allowing my brain to go because as soon as if he gets a head coaching job, it's a losing organization.
Right.
So he has to rebuild that up. So
Yep.
it's you're going to go to a lose. Well, it's not a. They were losing. Like they weren't good. Right. It's
Yeah.
time for a fresh start. Why? When you just got these guys like JG, Grink, Cashman, you got DT, right? You got all the other little pieces that you got with the Bynum and the Martellises, I Pace, Rodriguez, you got Phillips up front, like you got Patrick Jones, you got all these. Like we keep going on. Why would you want to go to be a head coach? As long as they're taking care of me, why would you want to? Right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if they're willing to, I don't know what Andy Reid is making a year, right? Andy Reid might be making $10 million a year. I don't know, right?
Yeah.
Like if KLC is going to get $8 million a year, are you going to stay for $7 or $6 million a year? There's no coordinator getting that much money.
Right. Now I agree with you, Pat. I agree. Sometimes, and I'm not saying this is B flow, but some people are made to just be assistant coaches. Some people are just made to be defensive, offensive coordinators because in that title, what you don't understand is that you get a chance to just coach. Some of the U peers out there, you just get a chance to coach. When you're the head coach, you got to make appearances. You got to. There's just a lot of responsibilities that come with being a head coach. When you're an assistant coach, basically whatever your responsibilities are, your responsibilities are. I look at Chip Kelly for the Ohio State Buckeyes. He left UCLA and basically said, "Man, I'm tired of being a head coach. I just want to coach offense. I just want to coach." And B Flow may be in that mode because he's got a little taste of being a head coach, and it didn't go well for him in Miami. Now you could argue this is probably the best spot that he's really been in because KLC is giving him 100% responsibility with the defense. And right now, in my opinion, he's got the number one defense in the league. I don't know if the stats bear that out. I know Pittsburgh is looking pretty good too. But in terms of defenses and how you have to figure them out to be successful, man, B Flow and the Minnesota Vikings are lights out right now.
Yeah, people may not be shocked like to be the 32nd defense like 2 years ago to go turn to 15 and then be in the top two, right? That's like unheard of, right? That is very unheard of. You was talking about the three-headed monster, and this is like my point of everything is we talked about culture and the Wilfs, right? And 20 years in as owners, I think this is what the Wilfs envisioned. Young, innovative mind thinking general manager.
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
innovative thinking head coach. Young, innovative thinking defensive coordinator. Like young, innovative special teams coach in Daniels, right? Like
Yep.
all these different minds. Like this was like I just feel like they just put everything. It finally is showing up, right? You got the number one facility in the NFL, right? You got one of the top trainings rated, in and like you've built this, and this is what it comes down to. Um, I've never like 1998 was exciting, electrifying. The Brett Favre year was like wow. This is different, just the start of it, right? It just feels like like you said, the stars and everything's just lining up. And I think the Wilfs have done a fantastic job. I love the Wilfs as owners. I think they're great. Mark and Ziggy are fantastic, and
But Pat, do you think, and this is not only for Pat, but this is for all the you peers that are on the chat today. I would love everybody's opinion on this. Do you think this feels a little bit different because there was really no expectations for the Vikings this year? I mean, in every publication, they were picked last, in the division, one of the worst teams in the conference. I also saw that they were, the front runner to get the number one pick next year. And, people were saying they were going to lose, the first 8 games. I know you were pretty high on them. I mean, you weren't saying they were going to win the Super Bowl. But again, I go back to our preseason picks. You were like, okay, they're going to win, 10 games. We'll be 10-7, round about there. And I think that was a conservative pick with you because I talked to you off the air, and you were like, they may win.
I would have went different. It would have went a lot higher just
Yeah,
because of paying attention.
yeah, yeah. So is it different? Because this is not unique. We've had good starts. We've had winning streaks before. We've had that. But for some reason, you're right. It does feel different. And I'm just wondering, is it because of the lower expectations of the Minnesota Vikings? I mean, we had some tragedies in the offseason, and then we had our future franchise quarterback get hurt. So I'm wondering where that feeling of special is coming from.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I'll tell you something. Like in all those other years that we all know about, when in Scott he goes back to the mid '70s when there were the high expectations, then we had all the letdowns, right? Um, we we all know what that's like, and I've been here since '94, Scott, and that's since I've been watching them since then, and I know them. So you dealt with the Purple People Eater years, so I'm hugging you right now, Scott. So you 0-4 in the Super Bowl, man. I just so yeah, maybe it's because there wasn't these high expectations that they're thus far have just surpassed the expectations, and you're still waiting for the other shoe to drop. But that's what it is a little bit. But once again, I've never in what is it now, 30 years, I have never seen anything like what they're showing I'll say it again. I've never seen it. This is one of those defenses that I always talk about. That man, I wish we always had one. Right? I watch so many, and you don't see so many NFC teams. The Los Angeles Rams defensive team was like that, but you usually see AFC teams with it. Like the Baltimore Ravens when they were winning the Super Bowls, right? The Pittsburgh Steelers when they won the Super Bowls, right? Um, those defenses there, the New England Patriots, even that, I mean, I know they had Tom Brady, but their defenses were fantastic. Those are the type of defenses which make me feel that there's is just something different. That's part of it. But the biggest part is you can feel the culture, right? I know I can just touch them next door to me where I work
Yeah,
at, but it's the culture feel of it too. Like you don't have to deal with the bullshit. And we're not dealing with the bullshit as fans. And that's a great thing that we do not have to deal with that. We're not hearing that coming from it. We're not seeing, like I said, a head coach and a quarterback go after each other. You're not seeing your best player be selfish and sit out, right? Because of contracts, right? you're just not hearing all the negative things. We're not on a boat somewhere having a party. We just all the things just I don't know. They're just it's part of the expectation, but they is. I've talked about it since the summer, and it's been culture, and it's been since the whips down, and that's what I feel is different, right?
Yeah.
And that they
Yeah.
have great leadership. That's it's and the Wilfs have been here, but we haven't had all the moving pieces in the right place yet, right? The Wilfs have been here. They've had 4 or 5 different head coaches, and everything feels good. But in year 3 and the things that have gone on, like there's nothing like KLC's a good dude, you
Yeah.
know. KLC's a good dude. He's not this old mean ass dude in Zimmer, and he's not Childress, who can't even fucking hear, but is it where he had a quarterback conflict because Brett Favre felt he knew the offense better than Childress knew the West Coast offense, and
Yeah.
so it's I don't know.
Yeah.
I,
I'm gonna touch on what something that Scott put in the comments about KJ, and maybe this is about him, and sometimes that can galvanize a team. Like, we live in a society today as people, and I think we're all guilty of this. Everything is fast moving, and you just get things right away with all the technology. I mean, you got a phone that's attached to your hip. Any sort of information that you need, if you want to order something, you can basically do it for your phone, and it's right now. And it's hurting, your face to face relationships, because you never really get a chance to talk to people. You're always in your phone. It's kind of what technology has done to our society, and you just never slow down until something really significant happens, like a death, and then everything just refocused. You start to take inventory of your life, and you start to say, okay, here are the things that's important. And there is a chance that tragedy this summer refocused the Vikings and their coaching staff. You may have some members on that team that sit here and think about, well, that could have been me. I'm going to live in the present and just take inventory of all the blessings that I have in my life. Pat, you and I both know, when you and I coached at a particular school, we lost a student athlete in a car accident, and that galvanized the team at the time that I was coaching. I mean, nobody expected it. It was hard hitting, and I think it really galvanized the school and our team for that season. And sometimes that can refocus you. So I think Scott makes a great point. That could be something that's really reshaping, even though he wasn't here for a long time. It's something that's reshaping and focusing this football team and the coaching staff for sure.
yeah, it's a beautiful story line, right? It's they always and it always and I'm not jumping the gun, but you never think about it until you're kind of in that place. But you always talk about these teams that do make it that far to the end, to the ultimate goal, and people rewind, and you see all these beautiful things, and you saw how they were blessed to get to a certain place. And we're not going to jump the gun, because all I'm thinking about is the New York Jets right now in London. I'm thinking about going to London and getting some. Hey, are we undefeated in London, Coach? We 2-0, right?
I, I don't think we've lost a game in London, but we
Yeah,
got that Packer game first, Pat. We got that Packer game first.
we got Packers first.
Oh yeah, we got the Packers next week.
They
Come on,
probably
we gotta
should.
be. Come on,
They,
we gotta be ready
they
for Packers week.
I know we got to get ready to go to Green Bay, but once again, you said this earlier, and I think I took this as a loss, and you took it as a win. If I'm not mistaken, Coach, I think that's we flip flop. What did you choose with this game?
What are you talking the Texans or the Packers game?
The Packers game.
I picked the Vikings to lose the Packers game. I picked for them to split with the Packers. I
Yep.
picked for the Vikings to lose at Lambeau and to win at home.
Okay. So here's something that you always bring up: to get the Packers when it's hot outside. It's fantastic, right? I don't think you should bring Jordan Love back. If I'm the coach and I'm looking at this defense, I'm not bringing Jordan Love back this week, right? Willis is doing his job. He's got us 2 victories. I would not bring him back this week versus this defense. That's just me being a that's me just being an honest person because I think Jordan Love has a pretty good talent. But if he's not fully ready to be mobile, and he hasn't seen like he saw KOC's defense, but he hasn't seen the new improved KOC. I mean, B Flow's defense. So
Right.
I would not. Oh, we going to the Packers? Oh, we
But
going to
listen,
the Pack.
hey, I'm gonna tell you. Here's what I know about the Packers. Um, their fans are front runners.
Yeah,
That's just what they do. Their fans are front runners, and the organization and the fan base, they have an ego. So here's a Lionel's lock early. I'll have another one when it comes to a game, but here's a Lionel's lock earlier. Jordan Love, you can lock it up. Jordan Love will play next Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings. Their ego won't let him sit out that game because they want to win it so bad. And they feel like B Flow can do some things to Malik Willis that it doesn't give them the best shot to win. They got to feel like if he can walk and run, they're going to put him in that game. And I hope they do because I don't think he's going to be ready for what B Flow is going to throw at him, and he's not going to be able to confidently move around the pocket. He may be physically ready to go, but it's combining the mind with the body, and I don't think Jordan Love is going to be able to do that next Sunday. But you can lock it up. He's going to play. That's my call right now. I haven't heard anything. But I've been watching the Packers for a long time, and I know their fan base and I know their organization. They're going to put him in that game.
it was supposed to be 3 to 6 weeks, and y'all, okay, he practiced this week, and maybe it's a little mind game. You was able to play that mind game with Tennessee, but B Flow would be ready for both of them. I
Yeah,
promise you that. I promise you, he's preparing for both of them.
yeah, definitely, man. I have the utmost confidence in B Flow. I'm just for now, right now, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm not gonna let
Yeah,
anything
yeah,
dampen my spirit and his flame. I'm a little concerned about Sam Darnold. Like right now, we got to wait to hear some things on Monday with this MRI thing. So that's going to be a little thing that may keep me up because I want to have him ready next week. But I think he's going to be okay. But yeah, I'm just praying that Sam Darnold's going to be able to play next week because I really definitely think that gives us the best chance to be able to pull that game out.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I love to have Sam Darnold out there. We played against a Malik Neighbors type already in week 1, and
Yeah,
so we already got that game playing for him, right? So,
yeah.
uh, hey, if I'm Jordan Love though, I'm like, Coach, nah, let's wait. Like I saw C.J. Stroud, and this ain't fully ready yet. I saw C.J. Stroud limp off the field. I saw Purdy limping. I don't want to be limping too, Coach, because they
Yeah,
coming.
yeah. They're coming, man.
So
They're coming. I got one more thing I want to talk about before we wrap this up because I've been trying this whole episode to give people their flowers or whatever. I got to give this young man his flowers because he is stepping up, in the absence of Jordan Addison. What about my guy Speedy Nailer, man?
Speedy.
Speedy Nailer is the and I'm so happy for him because my wife asked me, is he new? Like where is he been? He's been hurt the last couple of years, and now he's healthy and he's being productive in there, man. He's caught a touchdown pass in each one of his first 3 games as a starter for this football team. Talk to me a little bit about Speedy, man.
Man, Speedy's doing fantastic. I mean, catching the balls, running the routes. Um, he is really filling in. Like when there is the versatility, we talked about defense versatility, but all like Keenan McCardell getting all the guys ready to be able to run right, every single to play all positions at wide receiver. And that's just right there preparation. Also, Speedy getting his opportunities, like you told Nicole, right? Speedy's healthy. Uh, we saw it in the preseason. The Speedy have 2 or 3 scores now. That man got
He's got
two or
three.
three. He's got
Three. He's
three,
got
though.
three.
He's got
Yeah.
three. Man, he's really, this off season, you and I even talked about it, right? And we was like, oh, maybe Thielen's gonna come back here. KJ Osborne's going, who's gonna be our new three? And we really didn't know because number one, we didn't know the health of Speedy, right? Um, and him and Tristan Jackson showed fantastic things, and I think Speedy's just um, really just showing us that he can fill in as needed. Holy shit. Does that make it a four-headed monster when Addison and TJ Hawkinson get back?
Oh man, it's going to
That
be and see the thing is, TJ provides that insurance policy underneath with those drag routes, so that's really going to stress the defense out. Right now, I'm not saying that our tight ends are non-existent because you saw Munt catch a touchdown pass today, but when TJ Hawkinson comes back, it's just a whole different level of player at that position. And you're right, man. It's going to be a four-headed monster. And don't forget about Powell. You can put Powell in for some selected plays as well. The offense is looking pretty nasty.
yeah, it is, and you're talking about TJ underneath, but we haven't. I mean, we've how many above 20-yard plays or like long plays that we had, right? Not that many where it's all that setup, right? Like
Yeah.
they're setting up for the big ones, right? Because you're going to be focused with Speedy catching these balls underneath. You're going to be focused on him and like catching something short, and he's just going to hit you over the top, right? Same
Yep.
as with JJ with Addison or whatever. So I think this is all set up for people, some smoke and mirrors for them for later on. That people just it's going to look like one thing, but it's going to be something different. It's going to look like it's going to mirror what they're really trying to do. And I think KLC is preparing for everyone down the road, trying to set y'all up on film right now before he really shows you what he's going to do. So Speedy's just adding something else, insurance policy, but also he goes back to that thing we talked about, Coach. DEPTH, depth,
Yeah. Yep.
right? It's
Yep.
it's showing the depth, and I'm glad that Rieger's gone too. He was horrible, but but Powell and everyone's doing a good job. But man, Speedy, man, keep doing what you're doing, Speedy. Speedy, keep getting on film, because hopefully Addison back this week. He done sat out 2 weeks. Get your tail back on the field. Is this is the week of all weeks, right? Um, yeah, we could go two tight ends and three wide receivers. That is massively scary right there,
That
right?
is.
The oh my goodness, oh. You go one tight end, four wide receivers, or two tight ends and three wide receivers. Still with Aaron Jones or Chandler in the backfield.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
What do you do
nasty.
with that?
That's nasty, man. That's nasty.
What do you do
That's
with
nasty.
that? That's
Yeah.
just And
Yep.
especially if they could block up front. Like you can't bring the house on that. You just
Yep.
can't. When we get healthy after the bye week, which he's setting up for, how are you going to be able to bring anything on us? You're going to have to drop back, and then you know what that is? Aaron Jones, Ty Chandler, City. Then you creep up. Oh, we got you. It's all a setup. So it's hopefully people try to figure it out. But man, that's a good question about Speedy, man. Speedy's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speedy's doing what he's supposed to do.
Yeah. Well, the Minnesota Vikings are 3-0. I think Vegas had them at 6.5 in terms of wins this season. So for those of you that took the over, you're halfway home with 3 wins. Minnesota Vikings 3-0. I am extremely excited about this team. Not I'm excited about the 3-0 record, but I'm just really excited in the direction that this team is going, and you can just see it when I say the stars are aligning, man. The stars are aligning for this team, so they just got to keep it going. Please, you peers out there and people that are new to the broadcast, hit that like and subscribe button. Keep the station growing. Pat and I will be here every Sunday after the Minnesota Vikings game to talk about the Vikings victory. Right now, we're going to stay at 8 p.m. because that works for us. So we're a little bit later than other podcasts that go on right after the game. But right now, we're going to stay at 8 p.m. So those of you that want to talk a little bit of Vikings, hear some Vikings talk at a little bit later time on Sundays. PB and J will definitely be here to talk Minnesota Vikings football. Pat, anything you want to say out there to the U peers, Skull Nation, Purple Nation?
Nah, I appreciate you. Keep enjoying the ride. Take one game at a time. Enjoy it. Yeah, I'm with you. Vegas does know one thing, Scott, how to take your money. That's that's one thing they do know how to. Uh, but yeah, I love being on here with you guys. We'll continue bringing you the content. Continue to hit that like and subscribe, as Coach always says, and we'll see you when we see you.
All the you peers that are on the chat, we appreciate you, Pat. I appreciate you being here. I know you're a busy man, but to be a part of this podcast, it's truly been an honor for me bringing your insight in, doing this with you every Sunday and during the weekday, making Unconventional Playbook the best program that it can possibly be, man. So I'm just really enjoying doing this show with you. On behalf of Patrick Buchanan and myself, Lionel Jones, we will make sure to see you when we see you. Latre, take us home, man.
Go.
I don't know who I am. Can I say I'm the man? Am I losing my mind? Am I wasting my time? Do I know who I am? I don't know who I am. Can I say I'm the man? I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know who I am.
So confused in this life full of mystery.